Hey y'all, Rick Sky here, and this is the DJI Ronin-S, and I wanted to post an initial impressions video, and that's after taking it out of the box, configuring it with the camera that I use, the Sony a7 III. You can check the link within this video's description to find the Ronin-S, the camera, and everything, all my gear. But yeah, first impressions, obviously out of the box, the first thing I noticed is how nice this build quality is. I mean, this feels heavy. It does not in any way whatsoever feel cheap. It almost feels so well made that that I'd almost wish they had gone a little bit cheaper so that it wouldn't be quite as heavy to carry around. But it's not too big and it's not too heavy. But definitely don't expect this to be a small handheld gimbal like an Osmo or something. This is a pro level gimbal where you can attach a lot of different types of cameras to it. Again, this is the Sony a7 III, but it'll work with a variety of other cameras. So as far as balancing it was concerned, that was wasn't really that difficult. I don't know if you've used, oh, and see, I can tap it here and it'll go into selfie mode. And I tap again. Let's see. Selfie mode was 2 taps. And see, now to go back around. And then you can control the stick. I mean, it's just really, really cool. It's like a drone in your hand. But yeah, the balancing of it wasn't, wasn't as difficult as I thought it would be. If you've ever dealt with gimbals in the past, maybe not even gimbals, but just handheld stabilizers, where you had to deal with weights and all kinds of stuff, you probably found that to be such a pain. And if you got it to work, you probably didn't have it working optimally, and even if it was, it probably got off balance and he had to start, reinvent the wheel again. Cool thing about this, if you're, in my case, I'm just using this 25mm lens with it. You can find the lens within this video's description too, but I'm just using a 25mm lens with it, and for my intended use case, to capture environments, I'm going to be using a wide-angle lens like this 25mm. So I probably won't use any other lenses with this, because this is pretty much optimal. I mean, 25mm, walk around, capture really cool high-quality video with a high-quality camera that's gimbal stabilized. That's awesome. And to be able to have this one-handed, that's a game changer, because the Ronins in the past, they were two-handed. I mean, it was a lot of stuff to carry around. This is not small and this is not lightweight, but it's extremely capable. What I'm holding down here, and this came with it, which was cool. It's a tripod, so if you need to sit it down, maybe your arms get tired, you can sit it down. But if you're not using that, you can fold it like that to kind of extend your grip. So now you got a longer grip. You don't want it on at all, you can unscrew this. It's your standard screw type tripod mount. And then what's cool in the bottom, and I don't know how well you can see it in this video, but it's got that style screw type tripod mount, and then one that's a little bit larger. So in theory, what one could do is they could attach their quick release tripod plate to the bottom of the Ronin-S, and then just put this on top of a tripod. That way, if you don't want to take your camera out, and it's easy to slide in and out, I'll demonstrate here in a minute, but if you don't want to slide your camera out, you could simply just put the entire Ronin on top of a tripod if you had the plate, the quick release plate down there. So that's a really cool feature. And again, the balancing of this was not that difficult. The instructions that came with it were quite intuitive, but I will tell you, there's a setting within the app. You go into settings and you can do check balance. And I did that a few times, and I got it to where the only thing I didn't have perfectly balanced was this piece right here. I think it's called the vertical. And then I tinkered with that, and then I got it perfectly balanced. So now it's all perfectly balanced according to that check balance within the app. So, the real test will be taking it out in the field, getting some really cool video, and seeing how good it looks. So, yeah, it was easy. Be ready to commit I would say at least a half hour to balancing everything perfectly. If you're like me, you're a perfectionist, and you don't want it to just say good. You want it to say, I forget what the verbiage was, if it was exceptional. I think it may have used the word exceptional. But whatever that word was, that's what I achieved with the balance for all the different points. Because there's one here, let's see, that one, and then obviously the lock mechanism for your camera on the plate. You know, that affects the balance too. So, you know, follow the instructions precisely, because when you're dealing with this balance on the side, it's kind of weird, because you would think that you want your camera to point forward, but actually during that part of the balancing, to get it to be optimal configuration, I actually had to have the camera where it pointed up. And then once I did that, got it to that point, and then you know, never adjust this when it's powered on, but then once I powered it on after adjusting, I was able to run the balance test again, and it said everything was exceptional, or whatever the word was. But yeah, super amazing build quality, and you know, just a really high-end gimbal system. It's got the stick on the side here. You know, you can rotate, you can pan rather, is what you want to call it, and you can also go down. You can go up, you can go down. So if you've ever flown a drone, I mean, you're probably going to feel right at home with this. I mean, it's just like a big drone camera, except it's handheld. And again, by having the screw-type tripod mount on the bottom, that opens up a huge opportunity for mounting options without having to use proprietary mounts. I mean, it's just a standard screw-type tripod mount. So, you know, I'm sure there's a lot of stuff that one could rig up with this. But I'm going to turn it off. Now, a few things worth mentioning. There's some accessories coming soon. Since I use the A7 III, I don't use manual focus that much anymore, but there's a manual focus option apparently that they're working on. And that's what this focus wheel right here is for. But at the time of posting this video, that's not available. There's also rumored to be a lot of other accessories coming, but you know, in its purest form, it's just a very simplistic control. The control stick has a little rubberized edge, kind of feels like the Mavic Air. Actually, it does feel almost exactly like the Mavic Air's control stick, so it doesn't screw off, which there's no reason it should. And to turn it on and off, there's an on-off button on the side. You just hold it. That was an initial point of confusion. If you don't read the owner's manual, there's actually a button down here too on the battery. So if you don't have this on first, and then if you don't have this on first, and then try to power it on, it's not going to come on. That's got to be on first. And there's a lot of comments already on the internet about people thinking they had dead on arrival, and that wasn't the case. This battery is not, the battery is built into the grip right here, and it's not replaceable. But again, to be tested, but the battery life on this is rumored to be almost half a day. So, I mean, by the time the battery started getting low, your arms would probably be extremely tired. Not that it's that heavy, but, you know, 12 hours or so of filming, you know, you can be worn out. But that's not of concern to me. What's cool is that it recharges by way of USB-C. There's a little USB-C port right here. So, you know, if you need to recharge on the go in a car or a boat or whatever, wherever you've got USB recharging capabilities, or even off the grid with a solar panel and a battery bank. So that's super convenient. So not having, you know, unless this battery fails, not having replaceable batteries is not of concern for me. Yeah, I mean, again, just the overall build quality is great. The case that it came in is, you know, if you remember and check out my unboxing video, but if you remember the Phantom 4, it's that same type of deal. It's like a high quality styrofoam type thing, which isn't a problem. It's lightweight and it would travel well in a suitcase. But this breaks down, and I'm going to show you, I already showed you this part on the bottom just screws off. I'm going to screw it back on though, because I'm going to sit this down to take the camera off. The camera, I'm going to bring it closer here. you can see it's got this plate, and I had to sit it down to slide this off. But and make sure your Ronin is off. You don't want to touch it when it's powered on. So all you do, you just push this unlock lever, and then slide your plate forward. And then there's a button, a safety switch, you got to depress to make it slide all the way out. And then once it slid all the way out, that's what the plate looks like on the camera, see? And it came with this piece, it's kind of taller. It came with that piece too. And I made it taller because it gives more clearance between the lens and the plate when I'm changing lenses. If I didn't put that in there with this particular camera, it was pretty close. But the cool thing about this plate, and that's something, stay tuned for my follow-up video on that, but the cool thing about this plate is that it should be compatible. There's a Manfrotto or Manfrotto, however you pronounce it, tripod, that this is supposed to be compatible with. Now, there's a lot of people saying that you can't put the Manfrotto plates on this and plug it into the Ronin, but apparently this Ronin plate will work with the Manfrotto, with a certain model of the Manfrotto tripod, and that tripod's highly rated. So I'm going to pick it up. Stay tuned for the unboxing and the review video of that, and I'll post a link to it. But you know, my objective is to be able to leave this plate on. So whether I'm using the Ronin-S for gimbal stabilized video, or if I want to pop this on the tripod real quickly for a face-on video segment such as this, then I don't have to change the plate. So, you know, that's on my to-do list. Because I've used, in the past, I've used MePhoto tripods that use an Arca-style plate, which is different. So, you know what, I guess what I could do, on the bottom of this, I could put an Arca-style plate on there, and then just sit this on top of my tripod when I'm filming face-on video segments. I mean, that's an option. But I think I'm just going to go with that Manfrotto style tripod just to make it more streamlined. But yeah, just the build quality of this thing is, I mean, unless you've got it in your hands, you can't appreciate how excellent the build quality is. I mean, it's super nice. Another thing I failed to mention is that these have numbers. It kind of looks like a little ruler on them, and it makes it easy to see what your settings are. So, you know, if you have multiple cameras and or multiple lenses and you're using one Ronin-S, anytime you change the lens or change to a different camera body, you're going to need to balance it again. But with this, with the numbers being visible, you can record your optimal settings for your lens and for your camera. And you know, if you rotate among various cameras, you shouldn't have to balance it again. You had to balance it, but you can just have a photo of all your settings and, you know, just put it there, and in theory it should be balanced the same way. So that's a nice touch to attention to detail there. But yeah, just a really cool device. Again, if you want to capture stabilized video with something a lot more high end than a GoPro or other action camera, you know, this is a way to do it. Now it's worth mentioning this is not waterproof, so you know it's not going to replace your action camera, but in dry conditions, it can enable people to get some really cool shots with a higher end camera that's gimbal stabilized. So yeah, I'm super excited, and I like how it uses USB-C instead of a micro USB. That's nice. And it's just, you know, initial impressions. I mean, I haven't taken this out in the field and played with it. You know, those videos are coming soon, but you know, again, initial impressions are important. And you know, these one negative thing I have to say, and you'll see this cable that's connected to it. If you're using a Sony camera, and if you did what I did, I played with this thing for a few hours trying to get it's got a shutter button on the back, a record button, and it wouldn't work with my Sony, although everything I read on the forums indicated that Sony's were compatible with this. So turns out it wasn't the USB-C cable, because I've got USB-C on my A7 III. It wasn't the micro USB cable. I've also got micro USB on the A7 III. But it was this doohickey that's attached here, which is basically just a cable with an infrared tip. So it's like a remote control, and it communicates with the front of the Sony Alpha camera where the little IR infrared receiver is. So I felt like a fool when I finally enabled that to work. And it was just the matter of using this infrared, this IR cable, versus the USB-C or the micro USB that I thought it should be. So, you know, I hope that tip saves you some grief if you if you run into the same thing. So, yeah, but just a really, even that plate that came with it's good build quality. I'm super stoked about all of this, and stay tuned for a lot more Ronin-S videos here soon, and be sure to subscribe. It's youtube.com/iRickSky. And any questions that you have, feel free to ask, and I'll try my best to answer. Thanks for watching, and y'all have a good day. Hey y'all, iRickSky here. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to subscribe, like, and share. It's viewers like you that enable my channel to continue to grow. Thank you.